Justin the Highlight Gaethje has been a mainstay of the lightweight division in the UFC for the last 8 years, and in his rematch against Rafael Fiziev, he came across some trouble, as Fiziev is a very, very skilled striker who kind of plays that outside game with his footwork and his really crisp Muay Thai. And after a rough first round, Gaethje was able to make some significant adjustments that led him to dominating the second and third round. And what adjustments were they? Well, they were aggressive clinch fighting. Now, it's important to note that Justin Gaethje is a fighter that needs glasses outside of the octagon. From what I understand, his eyesight isn't very good, similar to that of an Oliveira. So to actually feel and grab an opponent allows him to actually get a better judge of distance and where his opponent is. And because Justin doesn't really like to play the outside game that much, he's not too technical, with his jab and his straight punches and his footwork, he's better off getting in close and getting his hands dirty, right? And he does this constantly against Rafael Fiziev, so let's look at how he does it. Justin discovered at the end of the first round that the only way to reliably get his hands on Fiziev was to quite literally grab, right? And during the clinch, Justin is, by trade, a wrestler. At least initially he is. So naturally, he's a lot stronger and just comfortable in close 50-50 positions like over-unders. Now, Justin started to use a simple bump and grab where he'd dip low, shoulder bump Fiziev, and then come up with his left hand and almost cuff it around the back of Fiziev's head and use that to start landing shots. Eventually, these turned into him almost ducking and rolling after grabbing, where he'd get really close and pummel shots over the top, usually with the right hand. He'd just duck, roll, grab, and smack over and over and over again. And because of the collar ties that Gaethje grabs, it stops Fiziev from moving side to side, and it helps cut him down a lot easier. Naturally, Fiziev is also a fighter that likes to come forward and brawl. So these large car crash type collisions, Fiziev's thinking, oh yeah, I'm just gonna throw down with Gaethje. But in reality, Gaethje's like, okay, finally, I can hit him. Get my shot in, get out, move again, clash, grab, get my shot in. Over and over and over again, Gaethje would do this just with repeated and consistent success. He'd also mix in the uppercut after the shoulder bump. He'd almost go the right hand, shoulder bump again, uppercut, left hook. He just constantly make sure he was having contact with Fiziev before throwing a shot, like grabbing a collar tie, grabbing over-unders, when in over-unders, pummeling through underhooks and overhooks, and then using that to pummel through punches when Fiziev doesn't expect it, as Fiziev is pretty committed to going for knees, as he is a Muay Thai fighter. However, he lacks some of the fundamental distancing and just defensive skills that Gaethje is presenting offensively. As the fight went on, Gaethje started mixing up how he'd enter into the clinch. Instead of doing, a jab, dip, shoulder bump to the stomach and coming back up, Gaethje would dip, but he'd almost throw a cuffing jab or a cuffing left hook to grab a hold of Fiziev just immediately when he enters, instead of making contact, then starting to clinch. He'd immediately grab, and then he'd drill in the uppercut. This is actually how he dropped Fiziev really badly in the second round. And in the third round, he begins just entering with this and just drilling the uppercuts really, really aggressively. And he does this when he wants to cause a lot of damage, as Fiziev started to try and roll with the right hooks over the top. So Gaethje improvised, changed things up, and started entering differently. He also began to start attacking with the head kick in the clinch. Gaethje is very flexible with his hips. Despite not being a dynamic kicker, I'd say, he actually has really, really good potential for kicks. It's why I find it really interesting that he prefers, to use his hands. But he'd grab Fiziev in the clinch, he'd grab a collar tie, and he'd grab Fiziev's wrist, pull Fiziev's wrist down, and then take a step back and throw the head kick over, pulling that hand down so Fiziev obviously can't use it to defend himself properly. Very, very unorthodox and very, very cool. It's a difficult move to pull off, but it's really, really nice to see. Another added benefit of using clinch work, collar ties, pummeling through underhooks, just working from the 50-50 position, is you're putting your body weight on your opponent, right? And if you're a big person, like Justin Gaethje is a big lightweight. He's 5'11", he has a decent reach, he's decently sizable. And, he's on the higher end of that. Fiziev is quite small for a lightweight and arguably should go down to featherweight, right? Every time they get into that clinch exchange, Gaethje's putting and, weighing himself over Fiziev. And Fiziev is a very explosive kind of fighter. He likes to fight in bursts, explode, a lot of muscle on him. So constantly having to support someone else's weight on you is exhausting. And these exchanges are happening constantly in the fight. They are constantly tying up over and over again. And eventually that starts to add up and slow Fiziev down. And now you get a little more tired. Those punches, they don't have as much steam on them, right? You don't really want to move around as much, right? It's easier to track you down now because, you're tired, you're going to move your feet a lot less. It all compounds throughout the fight until that third round. And honestly, I know Gaethje pitched for 3 rounds instead of 5, as his fight with Hooker was meant to be 5 rounds. I really would have loved to see this fight go 5 rounds because I think that was the one thing that was missing from the first fight, is we didn't get to see rounds 4 and 5, right? Maybe Gaethje could have went on to get a finish, but we'll never know. It was just a really, really interesting display of clinch fighting where it had a lot of different effects throughout the fight. And it's just a very, very good example of someone having success with it so consistently within a fight. And I really think it's a skill that Gaethje should lean on even more in his next fight if he doesn't retire, if he doesn't get a title shot. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, that was the breakdown. I just wanted to keep it short and simple. If you guys liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later.